Thanks for tuning into Upward Way podcast. If you're looking to be spiritually blessed, moved, and inspired, there is no doubt you are in the right place. On our show, guests recount their encounter with Christ and how their lives have been transformed through the grace and love of God. And now, please welcome our host.
Hello and welcome to Upward Way. I am your host, Marlon Walters. My guest today is CEO of the Natural Remedies Kitchen, Davina Gayle. Welcome to Upward Way.
Thank you, Marlon.
Yes, it's really nice having you on the show. And let me just say to my listeners that it has taken a while to really pin down Davina. She's pretty busy. As you hear the title, The Natural Remedies Kitchen, you know she has been cooking up a storm. But we give God thanks that you have been able and you are available to share your story. So first up, I would just love for you to just share with the listening audience a little about the Natural Remedies Kitchen. What is this all about? Is it that you're just cooking every day? What is it that this ministry entails?
Marlon, let me tell you a little bit about the Natural Remedies Kitchen. It's a name change. Prior to the name change, it used to be called Davina's Kitchen, right? At that time, when it used to be called Davina's Kitchen, I was not a Christian. I was not walking with the Lord. And my motive then for calling it Davina's Kitchen was based on worldly ideas of business and making it. As you know, most successful chefs, their business is called by their name. They're known by their name. And that was my idea behind calling it Davina's Kitchen in the first place. But after I was transformed and started my journey with the Lord, I decided that I don't believe that my business should continue under that name when that was the motive. Now my motive is actually different, right? And even my business concept also changed, and my products changed, everything changed, and I wanted a different name. So my ministry name also evolved out of part of my own journey with health. So I had a number of diseases, very ill, and the Lord saved my life, and it's through natural remedies. So when I inquire with the Lord, I need to change the name, Lord. What should I now call the new business? And the Lord inspired the name, the Natural Remedies Kitchen. So what I used to do before as Davina's Kitchen, I used to do like vegan cakes, as well as vegan and vegetarian options for menus, for like restaurant menus, do catering for weddings, etc. and churches as well. So that's what I used to do then. But when I changed the name, my products and what I do also changed slightly. I then do healthier food. So even though I was doing vegetarian before, I now switch things over to vegan. And then I stopped using things like sugar and other things that can cause harm to health. I now wanted to make a living from things that would increase a person's lifespan rather than decrease your lifespan. And just being a unique product on the market. It's now different. My aim, my motive, my ambition, my goals have now changed. I now wanted to save lives because the Lord had saved my life and he was transforming my health. And I wanted now to help others to achieve the same goals. So I then now change where I now do herbs. I do health products, all natural, as simple can be are my products. I now teach people how to eat food simply and how to reverse their lifestyle diseases with diet, herbs, and lifestyle changes, which was a different story before when I used to whop up butter, sugar, and egg with flour. Right, which after a while, I had stopped eating myself. And I said, Lord, somehow I'm not feeling comfortable making money from these products anymore, because I'm no longer eating them for myself, because I now know and understand how it impacts one's health negatively. So I'm no longer eating it, and I'm saying, God, I don't feel comfortable selling it anymore. And even though the business was at its peak, I said, I don't feel comfortable selling these products, giving these products to people that I know it's going to cut their lifespan. I know it's going to increase their risk of diseases. I know the diseases that they already have, it will exacerbate them. And I'm like, God, I've got to do something else. I said, I cannot make a living by doing this. I don't want to make a living this way. I said, I'm ready to start all over from scratch. And I cut it. And the Lord helped me as well to cut it, because, sometimes our heart is willing, but the flesh is also weak. So the Lord helped me to cut it.
Okay, wonderful. Sounds well. You see, one question, and there's so much that has been unpacked right there. So I just wanted to take me a little bit, because you have given us a bit of a little preview as to how things got started, but a bit about your background. So already I'm detecting that you are someone who has been blessed with culinary skills. But in
Yes.
terms of your life, where did you grow up? How were things for you as a child coming up before you would say became so sharp in the kitchen?
Okay, all right. So I grew up in Jamaica, which is where I am at this time. Right. So spent most of my life in Jamaica. Did not like the kitchen. I mean, my mom, when she realized that I actually started a business in cooking, and I was up even late at night baking cakes and making cookies and stuff like that for sale, she was in awe. Even now, the fact that I'm someone cooking now, she's just still amazed, because as a child, one, I didn't even like it. It was very hard to get me to eat. So I grew up very tall and skinny, right? It was hard to get me to eat. I used to get threatened every Sunday to eat my dinner, right? And in addition to not wanting to eat, I hated the kitchen. So whenever my mom calls me to come into the kitchen to help and to teach me as well, because in the Caribbean, you have to teach your children how to cook and stuff like that. My mouth would reach the kitchen before me. That's how long it was, because I'm vexed. Didn't like food, didn't like to cook, couldn't deal with the kitchen. However, when I got to high school stage, I remember what you call it now, when you got to the stage in high school where you choose. Oh, okay. So when you get to, I think, third form, you get to choose if you want to do food and nutrition or electrical works, I think it was called, because I so hated the kitchen, I had chosen electrical. After going to 1 week of class, I realized, no, I can't manage that one. It was too technical for me. So, man, I leave that class and I run right back into the food and nutrition class. And I'm like, I don't want to do this, but at least I know more about this one than all these wires and these positives and negatives. So I went to the food and nutrition class. The class didn't turn out too bad. It actually, I did some lovely dishes that I actually really enjoyed. They were different from the usual things that would normally be prepared at home, and I liked the end results. Now, by the time I got to, I think, fourth form now, where specialize in the subjects that you want to do for your final exams, your CXC and your GC exams, I chose food and nutrition as one of mine that I wanted to sit. And I was doing very well in the class. And I really loved the science in food and nutrition, the nutritional knowledge that you gain there. I really loved that. And I also gravitated towards subjects like biology. I really enjoyed learning about the body systems and how cells operate and DNA, etc., that sort of stuff. So I sort of started gravitating towards the science behind it. And obviously now you love the science, you get the cooking, you've got to get that part with it. No, I had a switch in food and nutrition where I was doing everything about meat. Every dish I was cooking and preparing was about meat and, the typical stuff. Until one day I had to go by a friend of mine's, her house, and her sister was there preparing her own dinner. which was separate from the rest of the family dinner. And her dinner was, I think it was a 3-bean stew that she cooked. And I asked her for some of it and she gave me some. And I was blown away by how good it tasted. And there was no meat in it. And I was fascinated. I kept questioning her. So how do you do this? How do you do that? And she gave me the recipes. She told me how she did it. And of course, I went home and I tried that and I absolutely loved it. Now, can I tell you that that was a straight, simple vegan dish, right? So that for me was completely new. And I would often go over to her house, and every time I go over, she would be cooking something different that I've never seen before. And I would always be fascinated by what she's preparing. And I'm always in her kitchen asking her, how do you do this? How do you do that? Can I taste this? Can I taste that? And I was loving it. I remember even what they call it, some vegan meat. She prepared that from scratch, where she washed the raw flour until it came this ball thing and just pure protein. And I was just blown away. And I wanted to learn everything. And I developed this fascination basically for plant-based food. So when it got to the time where I needed to really chose the area in food and nutrition that I wanted to go, I chose to go vegetarian. So my SBA, all my coursework that I had to do after that, I focused on plant-based because I was really fascinated. And I did very well in the class. And then after high school, I wanted to go into the medical field. But somehow I was not able to pass maths and chemistry and physics. 1 year after high school, I still attempted these science subjects. And again, I didn't pass them. And I'm like, that's it, man. I'm not going to waste another year trying to do this. I'm going to go to college. I have to do something. So I needed to find something to do that I was qualified for. So I passed the business subjects and stuff like that. And I had more than sufficient subjects to enroll into hospitality management. So I enrolled into hospitality management at university. Now, the university that I went to, it was their second year or the second cohort that was doing this course, hospitality management. And the course was basically still in the initial stages. It was still being developed because now it's a different course from what I did, basically. We had to do a lot of subjects that if you should go now, you wouldn't need to do all of those, right? Because it was still sort of in the formative years of the course. So I did a whole lot of nutrition courses, which worked out in my favor. It's not what I wanted initially, but it worked out in my favor in the long run. But the Lord had his plans and he leads us, right? So I was led down that pathway, not because that is what I wanted, but that is what I was qualified to do. So I thought, all right, let me just do that. Started NCU, Northern Caribbean University, did the course there. The course focused on plant-based catering. I was just completely blown away. For my 3 years there, I was just completely blown away by the food and the amazing things I was able to produce from nothing, from just vegetables and beans. I was amazed. And I did very well on my course. Now, when I finished NCU, I had a degree where I could work now anywhere in the hotel, right? Anywhere in the hospitality industry. The first job offer I got was in housekeeping, and I said no to that one. And then the second job offer I got was in food and beverage, and I said yes to that, and I started right there. Little did I know that where you start is probably the road you're going to really carry on. I was in that for almost 20 years, and then managing restaurants, being operation director, operations manager for restaurants, just straight up in the food and beverage, trainer, train chefs to prepare specialized Caribbean meals. I was just in that field for about 20 years. And then after a while, I must say that I did get tired of it. And I was praying and I was saying, Lord, I feel tired of this industry. And I guess this happens with a lot of people. When you do something for 20 years of your life, some persons want a change. And that's why you will find some gray hair people in university like myself, not their first degree, but maybe second or third. So I got to that stage and I wanted a change. And I was there praying about it, talking to God, telling him I want to change. I don't even know if I was talking to God. I was just talking to myself, but I got heard. I needed a change. And the Lord heard and he had his plans. So I got a change. So I switched from direct restaurant management and training others how to cook Caribbean meat, jerk chicken, etc., to plant-based and helping others with their health in terms of now diet and nutrition and lifestyle to reverse diseases. So sometimes when I reflect on my life, I say, thank you, Lord, for the transformation, the personal transformation with my own health. And thank you as well for the career transformation, because I feel like I spent 20 years of my life not only destroying my own health by my dietary choices and lifestyle choices, but I also promoted a way of life that encouraged others to also destroy their health. So I reflect and I say, thank you, Lord, for the change, because now I have an opportunity to reclaim my own health and to help others to reclaim theirs as well. So now my new career, you can purchase your natural eye drops from me that I make in my own kitchen. You can purchase your own pain oil that I make in my own kitchen. You can purchase your own detox package that will take you from 2-week detox program all the way up to a 7 weeks detox program that I put together from my own kitchen. You can purchase your own hair oil for your hair. You can purchase your own lip gloss. You can purchase things, so diabetic wounds, everything is all natural, made in Davina's kitchen, which is now the Natural Remedies kitchen.
Awesome, awesome. Wow. That is some would say transformation. So you are saying from a point where you had no interest, you did your externals in high school, went to university, and that is where you would say your life catapulted in terms of success. So I think you did mention about your own health challenges that you developed sometime along that, let us say, 20-year journey. So I would want for you to share with us now about what was this, health scare that you had, and then how you said the Lord transformed your own life, where you actually came to him fully and said, Lord, enough is enough.
Okay, all right. So as I said, I grew up slim and trim, but after university and I got out there in the working world, in fact, when I went to the UK to live and I started working full on in the restaurant industry, the food and beverage industry, I then started eating like I was on a holiday. So I was eating right around the clock and I was eating everything that moved. And I was eating all, as I said, right around the clock. And I was drinking at the same time as well. And I'm drinking everything that is fermented, all sort of alcohol. The only thing I didn't drink was water. I was drinking all the coffee, all the tea, all the caffeine in the world. It was going in my body. All the alcohol in the world was going in my body. All the meat that is sold out there was going inside of my body. And that is topped as well with medications, contraceptive medications that I was on that also disrupted my hormones and sort of start the journey of breaking down your walls of health. So I more than doubled in size. I really probably should share a picture with you. I more than doubled in my body weight, and I started developing different types of diseases, right? So there I am, for those who are able to see. I was I'd gotten up to, I remember fitting a size 22 24 jacket, work jacket. I remember I tried to fit in it, but it was a little bit big. The jacket was a little bit big, but the trousers fit. Yes, I had gone up in size to a size, call it 22, 24, at least at the bottom. And that's moving from a slim person, right? Up to that size. And I started developing all sort of lifestyle diseases. So I had a point in my life where I had a pain radiating through my bone marrows. When I wake up in the mornings, I would have to massage my legs. I would have to massage all the bigger bones because the pain was so intense that I was feeling. I couldn't get up. I couldn't just wake up and get up. I had also angina, which is a heart disease. I could barely walk. And then my lifestyle was as well. I never even practiced walking. So I would drive everywhere. I was 8 minutes from work, but I would still drive to work. If you take a good look at this picture, this picture was taken 2013. You see, look at my neck. Can you see how dark that was? You can see my face, how depressed that looked.
The audience on radio won't be able to see, but you are painting a good picture to to say that around the neckline, it was dark, and even though you are smiling, then in the eyes, it tells a story of sadness and pain.
Exactly. And then just look at the radiation here. This is August 2017. You can see my neck and my face is now the same complexion, and my hands, they're now the same complexion. All that darkness, those dark patches that I had in my face as well, they're now gone. You can see I'm looking much happier and brighter.
Yes.
Right. So this person at the top here that you can see, it looks like a completely different person. Very dark in complexion, neck completely different color from my face, eyes sad, even the smile is sad. Was a very depressed person, and I was so depressed to the point of suicide. So I was suicidal because one, I was so uncomfortable with myself physically. I felt like I could not put my arms, I couldn't put them flat to my side. And I felt like I didn't know where to put my neck. I felt like even my neck was uncomfortable. I was physically uncomfortable. Plus all the pain I was going through, the pain in my heart from the angina. If I tried walking, the pain would be so intense and sharp. It would stick me in my heart. I also had moon face as well, which is another sign of a different type of heart disease. I had a tumor in my colon. To be honest with you, I don't even remember some of the diseases that I had. Sometimes now, when I get a client and they come with certain things, I'm like, oh yeah, I had that one as well. I had a conundrum of diseases I had, right? I was basically, you could say I was on my way out. I was suffering from depression as well. And I just wanted to exit this world. And I put all my plans in place to leave this world. So I dot all my I's and I crossed all my T's. I bought an additional 2 life insurances. I wrote my will. I wrote my guardian letter. I wrote letter for all the important persons who needed to execute stuff after I had passed. And I showed my daughter, my little daughter, she was at the time, where everything is kept. And I said to her, if anything should happen to mommy, this is mommy's will. Give it to Auntie Kay. Give this one to Auntie Loy. And everybody had their letter there in the drawer, and their responsibilities that they had to perform, to make sure my daughter gets the money from the insurance companies. And as I said, I had 3 life insurance. So I had one that everybody would normally get out a life insurance for themselves. That's just natural. So I had that one. But then at the time when I decided I was going to take my own life, I then went and I bought 2 additional life insurance. So when I passed, my daughter would get something close to £1 million in payout. And I had that all worked out as well. Who gets what percentage? Everything. I put my house in order, and I was ready to exit when I was sitting in my living room and I started telling a friend of mine that I was going to commit suicide. And when he looked at me, he realized that I was there physically, but mentally I had clocked out. So he didn't want to leave because he saw that I wasn't here, right? But he didn't know if he should call the police, what he should do at that time. So he was just trying to talk to me to see if he could talk me out of it. So he was asking me, why is it you wanted to commit suicide? And I started giving him my reasons. So I started saying to him, well, I feel toxic. My body feels toxic. My life is toxic. I said, I'm not the Davina that I used to be. I've lost my smile. I've lost my bubbliness. I started giving him the reasons. And my phone rang. Now, under normal circumstances, I would not have answered my phone because I had stopped answering family and friends for a while. Even my mom, if she wanted to get in touch with me, she had to email. I wouldn't answer her call because I was trying to break all the bonds, all the connections. So when I go, persons wouldn't miss me that much. But this case, I answered because it was my friend's husband and he doesn't normally call me. So when I saw that call, I thought to myself, well, something must have happened to my friend. I started panicking and I answered the call and I said, is Sister K okay? And he said, yes, she's fine. And I'm like, okay, are the boys okay? And he said, yes, they're fine. And I went, and I put the phone on speaker and I said to him, okay, so to what do I owe this call? And he just went straight into it. No greetings or anything like that. He just said, I have been praying and fasting. And the Lord has brought you to my attention. And he wants me to tell you that he loves you, that he cares, and that he can take you out of the situation that you're in. If you only believe and trust him. You believe that your life is toxic. You believe that your health is toxic. You believe that you have lost your smile. You're not the Davina that you used to be. Everything that I was going through, he just summed it up for me so perfectly. And then he said to me, can I pray for you? And listen, in the last 10 years of my life, if anyone had said to me, can I pray for you? I normally say to them, no, thank you. And when he said that, I said, yes, please pray for me. And he prayed for me and he prayed in the name of Jesus. So now, can I let you know that, just backing up a little bit, for the past 10 years of my life, I didn't believe in Jesus Christ being the Son of God. I didn't believe in the Bible. I didn't believe in the Sabbath. I didn't believe in Ellen White writings. I knew there was a God. I just didn't know where he was or who he was. But I knew there's got to be a God. I didn't believe in the evolution theory. I just said that there's no way this world can exist out of no sun dust or whatever they call it, or no Big Bang theory. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Someone designed. I said, someone designed this. This is designed, but I don't know where is this God. So when he said to me, can I pray for you? It's been 10 years. I have not prayed for myself or accepted prayer from anyone else. So I said, yes, please pray for me. And he prayed in the name of Jesus. When he finished praying, I remember just standing there and I was just thinking about the prayer. And then the person who I was telling before that I was going to commit suicide, we can call him Mr. P. He then said to me, did you tell that person that you were going to commit suicide before? And I said, no. And he said, you must have. And I said, no, I didn't. I haven't spoken to this person in, I don't know, maybe a year. And he said, then how come that person is able to repeat the same exact statements that you have just told me in the same exact order in which you have told me? Now listen, I didn't even know that these statements were the same exact statements. I certainly didn't even know that they were in the same exact order. All I knew is what this person over the phone was saying to me is exactly how I felt. It's exactly what I was going through. And I felt like they put it in better words than I could have put it in. I felt like they just said it. They knew exactly what I was going through. And I turned to Brother P and said to him, definitely there is a God. And I said, and Jesus Christ must be his son, because this man prayed for me in the name of Jesus. I said, there is no way he could have known unless God indeed showed him. And I remember I just broke down in tears and I went on my balcony, which I had worked out jumping from there, but I thought that was not a good idea to jump from that balcony because I would just lived on the third floor. And I thought if I jump from there, I would just break up, and I would find myself in the hospital. So I went on that balcony and I just started crying, just shedding buckets of tears. And I said, God, please forgive me. I have changed my mind. I don't want to die again. I want to live. I asked God to forgive me and I asked for life. And the Lord heard my cry. And I said, but there's a but. I said, God, you've got to change the situation I'm in. You've got to get rid of all these pains and sickness out of my body. You've got to get me out of this toxic situation I'm living in. You've got to change my life. You've got to save me from this life that I'm in now, And the Lord heard every single bit of my cry. And he did answer. And sometimes we're expecting to see things happen overnight. It did not happen overnight. But I walked with the Lord for about 1 whole year before I set foot in a church. And when I set foot in a church for the first time, it was actually a Catholic church. It was 2014, celebrating the New Year's of 2015. So I went to what we call it, in Jamaica, we would normally call it watch night. So everybody would normally go to church New Year's Eve night so the New Year's can catch them in a church. So that was my first move. I went to a Catholic church because it was the nearest church to me and I just went there. And by the way, that wasn't even my mission. When I left my house, I did not leave with that intention. Oh, yes, I left with that intention to go to a church, but I was meant to meet up with someone and they didn't show up. So I just went to that particular church. And I just remember when I was in the pews, I just started praying. And I just started praying, asking the Lord to forgive me again and to help me, to change me, to transform me, to renew me, to just take me as his own. And all night, I was just praying that. And I felt like I was surrounded by angels. I did not hear a word that priest said up to now. I just knew when I saw everybody getting up and they were leaving from their seats. Everybody was now going home. So I'm figuring, okay, the service is finished. And I'm thinking, mercy, I didn't hear a thing that the priest said. It's time to go home. Service is finished. And I actually went to that church for about 3 more visits. And it was about the 3rd week now in January. I said, God, somehow I'm coming to this church. It's mostly Black people at this church, but I don't feel at home. I don't feel comfortable here. And that was one Sunday when I was sitting in the pew, I said that to the Lord. And the Lord said, it's because you're supposed to be Seventh-day Adventist. That's why. And listen.
Before you rush on, I just want to ask. So you mentioned that for a year, you did walk with the Lord, meaning you'd have accepted him into your life before you started attending church. So during this 1 year period, were you in the same health condition or were you experiencing change at that point?
All right. So let me tell you, during that 1 year, I exercised. And I ate a lot of aloe vera and I drank a lot of water. I didn't really lose much weight. So for me, all in my head is I need to lose the weight. And that was my focus. That was my aim. That was my goal, to lose the weight. I bought almost every weight loss supplement being sold on the internet you could find in my cupboard. I bought them all. So if you wanted to sell your old car tire and old microphones and those stuff, during that year, you could just say to me, Davina, if you eat this, it will help you to lose weight. I would buy it from you for any money you ask for it. And I would eat it. And I tried everything on the internet and I could not lose any weight. And it knocked me. You know why? I was exercising a lot and I was sweating. Buckets of sweat would run off me when I exercised. And I was taking pictures, I was doing little videos, and I was sending it out to my friends. And I was saying to them, come on out in the mornings and exercise with me. And it inspired and motivated quite a few people. And they started their journey of exercise. And listen, I remember this is when the bucket full and run over. I had a friend, I could not get her out of her house, right? In fact, we shared a house and I could not get her out of that house to come and exercise with me. And then one day she eventually decided to come and exercise. And in 2 weeks, she reported losing 5 kilos. That's like 10 point something pounds, right? And I thought to myself, I lost 5 pounds in almost 1 year. 5 pounds, right? That is like 2.5 kilos the most. And I remember when she said to me in 2 weeks she has lost that amount. I went, what? And I'm like, but I've been exercising for a whole year and I have only lost 5 pounds. And I started crying. And I broke down and I could not stop crying. They had to call my mom to console me. And I stopped exercising after that. I lost the willpower to exercise. I was so demotivated. But the exercise was doing my body much good. I just didn't know that at that time, right? So the exercise was releasing a lot of toxins from my body and I was sweating a lot, which was good because it developed and helped to strengthen my internal fan system, which is needed. And I was drinking a lot of water, which is also good because before that, I wasn't drinking any water. I also did a hydrotherapy colon cleanse during that time. And it's there that they assessed that I was drinking, I think, a tablespoon of water per day. And they had put me on, yes, exactly. Now you can see why my neck looked like that, like a cup of coffee. Like a cup of black coffee. Now, they put me on a program where, a dietary change program where they reduced the amount of meat that I was eating, the amount of flesh food I was eating, and increase, my vegetable intake as well as my water intake. And they put me as well on some prebiotics and probiotics. So I did that's where they also discovered that I had that tumor in my colon. Before that, I didn't know I had a tumor in my colon, but something was wrong with my colon. When I poo, everybody had to leave the house. I had to give everybody pre-warning that I'm going to poo now. So everybody had to leave. The whole place would be staying. When I'm finished, I'm spraying here, there, everywhere, extractor fan, everything is on. When I'm walking, I would just be going, I would just be walking and going like that. So something was wrong in the colon, but I didn't know what it was. And doctors never figured it out. They never managed to pool all my symptoms together to figure out what was wrong with me. Because you get only 10 minutes at the doctor and you have one complaint. You can only report one complaint at a time. So, of course, and when you're going to go with the one that is bothering you the most. So, of course, they never managed to figure out what was my real problem. And then I was just given steroids as medication. They would be like, we don't know what that is. And I do all the tests there is in the book and they just don't know what that is. But here is some steroids. And yes, I had decided that I was not going to take these steroids because I thought it inappropriate that the doctor is actually going to tell me, which was very good, by the way, that they don't know what is the cause of the problem. And even different doctors I would go to, they say the same thing. They don't know what is the cause of the problem. They don't even know what it is, but I was given steroids. So I thought, that's it. I'm not going to take any of these drugs. And I decided that, God. I remember one day I went into my cupboard and I look at all the pills and everything that I had in there, all the different teas. I had even this Chinese tea. When I drank it, I would have to run in my bed and hold on to the head of the bed because the whole room bed, everything was spinning. And I had such splitting headache. And I would still religiously take that tea because it says slim on it. And I remember one day I just got fed up and I started crying. And I went in that kitchen cupboard and I grabbed a bin bag and I just sweep everything. And I said, God, this is it. I am not taking any more of these pills. I said, you've got to heal me, but I'm not using any of these pills. You've got to find another way to heal me. And I throw away everything. I remember my friends running, okay, I'll take this one, I'll take that one. Everybody want to take something from the back. But I stopped taking all of them. And then I went and I did that colon cleanse at a clinic in London. And there they discovered the tumor in my colon. there, they put me on, a small program as well. And that's when I started my exercising. That's when I started drinking a lot of water, because when they assessed me, I was supposed to be drinking 4.75 liters of water for the day, because every 50 pounds you weigh, you should drink a liter of water when you're on a Western diet. So I was supposed to drink, at that time, I was supposed to drink 4.75 liters. So I was drinking my water. I never managed to drink 4.75 liters. When the lady saw my face, she said, okay, drink 4.5. And I tried. Most days I covered 4. Most days I covered 4 liters of water, and it made such a massive difference to my health. So my skin started clearing up. That was for sure. My skin started clearing up, because I had also some massive black blotches on my skin, and we didn't know what they were. They looked similar to ringworm, but it wasn't ringworm. Pharmacists, they didn't know what it was. That's what the doctors told me. They didn't know what it was either, and they would give me steroids for that, but I didn't use it. So she said to me, if you drink that amount of water, you will find that they will clear up. If you drink the amount of water that I've given you, will find that, I had a white plaque over my tongue. She said that would clear up as well. All that she told me. I drank the water. I took those prebiotics, took those probiotics, and the tongue cleared up. I didn't even know when it cleared up. I just remember one day looking and I'm like, wow, my tongue is pink. My tongue is pink and pretty. And one day I look and I'm like, what happened? I'm searching myself with a microscope to see. I can't see the blotches anymore. They all disappeared. I'm like, wow, it really works. I continued. But yes, I'd only lost 5 pounds. But it's because my body was releasing the toxins and my hormone was seriously disrupted. So my body was balancing out back itself. But I didn't know all of that. So I had lost the motivation and the willpower to continue exercise. However, God had a plan. Because when your back is against the wall and you feel like you cannot go right, left, you can only look up. So I started praying and I started saying, God, please give me the motivation to exercise again so I can lose the weight. And I started praying. And then when it touched 2014, going into 2015 now, everybody make their New Year's resolution. I decided I was going to make my New Year's resolution as well. So I made a list of 8 things, and weight loss, drawing closer to the Lord was one. And that day I decided, all right, you know what? I'm not going to let this just be any ordinary New Year's resolution. I'm going to pray over this list, and I'm going to pray over it every day, right? So before that, even though I was praying, it wasn't much that I was praying. Most times I would go on my knees and I would wake up on my knees. And then I would just sort of get fed up of trying to pray and just get into the bed, right? Because it's like as soon as I go on my knees, I would just fall asleep. But, that was just a part of the plan of the enemy. I wanted to read the Bible. I found a Bible. I tried. It was on my dining table for a long while, and I didn't read it until I got fed up. And I said, you know what? I'm pushing this thing back in the bookcase. And then a voice said, don't put it back in the bookcase. And then I eventually said, all right, you know what? If I'm going to ever read this thing, I have to take it in my room. So I took it in my room, had it on my dresser, then move it from my dresser eventually to my night table, then from my night table to on the pillow. And then I eventually opened it and I eventually started reading. And God had his plans, because this is it. When I opened the Bible for the first time, I landed on this story where God was telling, I think, telling one king, I think it was, to kill this other king and to destroy everything. And I went, that doesn't sound like the God.
Was that Saul, King Saul?
It must have been, because he was the first king. Yes, it must have
King
been
Saul.
right. So right, and it must have been the king of was it the Moabites that attacked the children of Israel first when they left Egypt? Yes. So it was that king, right? I think it was that king, right? And I was like, but this doesn't sound like the God that I hear about. I said, something not right with this. And I said, I have to find out, why is it God would tell this king to kill this man? So I spun to the page before and I read, and it didn't give me any answer. So I spin a few more pages, read, didn't give me any answer. I said, you know what? Let me just start this book from the beginning. So I then turned to Genesis chapter 1. And I tell you, I've never read anything so diligently before. I read every single line from Genesis chapter 1 until I reached the story that king attacked Israel for no reason, unfairly. And then God promised him he was going to take, he was going to come back for him. And that was the promise. Now the Lord was sending the king to destroy him because he did sin. He did destroy a lot of children, innocent people. So when I started reading the Bible from Genesis, I tell you, that thing blew me away. There were times when I was just literally washed in tears. There were times when I was sitting on the edge of my seat, just wondering what next? Oh Lord, what next? I felt like I was in a movie. And there were times when I was rolling over with laughter. And I thought God had such a sense of humor. And I developed this love relationship with God. And I hadn't put a foot in church as yet, right? I developed this love relationship with God. And between work, while I was working, I would have my iPad playing the Bible. I would always be listening to the Bible. And as soon as I get a little break, I would run for the actual Bible and I would read it. But when I can't read, I would listen. I remember my iPad even fell in a whole batch of cake mix. I mean, but I was just blown away by the testimonies in the Bible. And then when I read the journey of the children of Israel, I said, God, please help me not to do this. Help me not to be like this. Help me not to do that. I said, God, these tendencies are in me. They are there. I said, they're there, God. So I'm asking you, take them out. Change me, transform me. And I kept praying and I kept asking the Lord for that and to draw me closer to him. And then now, that time, 2015, celebrating the New Year's, now I stepped into a church. 3 weeks later, I found the Seventh-day Adventist church in my area. And when I walked in that day, my first day there, as I reached the door, it was welcome time. And it just so happened that the person that was doing the welcome is someone that knew me from before. I had done a catering for a vegan wedding, and he was a guest at the wedding, and he was so blown away by the food at the wedding. I remember after the wedding, he came up to me and he said, when I'm getting married, I want you to do the catering for my wedding. And I had given him my number. And then 2 times after that, I run into this person. And every time that I saw them, they would say, I want you to do the catering for my wedding. They would always go over the same thing whenever they're getting married. And as I got to the door, that person was doing the welcome. And he went, everyone, that lady at the door is a lady I have been telling you about. She cooks the most amazing vegan food. I felt so at home. And I walked in and I sat down and I said, God, I feel at home. I said, this is home. I want to stay right here. And I remember every sermon preached, it's like God was talking direct to me. Until one day, a young guy, it was his last sermon and his last day at church because he was going off to university to study theology. And his sermon was about the prodigal son. And as he preached, he was preaching to me. I'm telling you, that day, the Lord sent me there and put him there for me. As he preached, it was the Lord calling me home. And when he finished, he did an altar call. And as he opened his mouth, I got up and I walked up to that pulpit. And I tell you, that was the longest walk in my whole life. My knees were shaking like a leaf in a lovely summer day. I was sweating. I was so nervous, but I did that walk. And I tell you, I don't know what happened that day, but that's the longest altar call I've ever heard, even up to today. That man was still calling. And I'm like, God, can you see that nobody else is coming? Let him just pray for me, please. And I was standing and the whole church was just staring. Because you had this big fat woman in this big hula hoops earring and red lipstick and red hair.
That was you.
That was me, right? She's standing at the altar. And of course, I don't think anybody else heard what he was saying about the altar call. I think they all just wanted to see what was going to happen with me. That was like the woman who was going to be stoned. They all just sat there and just watched like like they're in a movie. It was like, and I'm like, God, please let him stop now. Can he not see that nobody else is coming up? And I was shaking and I was sweating and I felt so nervous and I felt so bad. I felt like I just wanted to faint. And I'm like, God, please just hold me up, just hold me up, just hold me up. And then he prayed for me and I managed to go back and sit down. And I'm telling you, that just changed everything for me. And then in May of that year, I asked for, it may have been before May, but I asked for baptism and it was meant to be in May, but it didn't eventually happen until October, the same year. So the Lord transformed me, and I'm telling you, that Bible, I kept saying to myself, God, I don't know why I spent so many years of my life sitting down in front, so proper, desperate housewife, bold and the beautiful, all these foolishness. I said, everything you want is right there in the Bible. If you want love story, it is there. If you want horror movie, check out Solomon. Not Solomon, King Saul. If you want action, check out David. Everything you want, it is right there in the Bible. And I'm telling you, when I'm studying that Bible, when I'm reading, I was so fascinated that even the genealogies I read, every single detail I read, I could tell you who is the great grandfather for who. If I hear a name, I could tell you whose family line that name is from. I was reading everything. I was just so blown away by it. And it really transformed my life. So that's what I did in that gap year. I met the Lord. And he was working on me with my health, but I didn't know. And before I hand back over to you for a second there, when I started going to church now, I remember I started asking the Lord, I said to the Lord, I wanted to fast and pray. So I was praying for my little list of 8 points, but I now wanted to fast as well. But every time I mentioned the word fast, I would start feeling sick. I would start the fast in the morning, and by 10 a.m. I had to eat. Otherwise, I felt like I was going to die of hunger, and cold sweat would be washing me and I would feel so bad. And that was a plan of the enemy. But God had another plan. I remember one Sabbath, I prayed and I said, God, please help me to fast. I want to fast this day. And I fasted the Sabbath. But that Sabbath, when I was in church, they announced that a particular brother was ill again. That's what they said. He was in the hospital again. And they're asking that, the family's asking that no one visits him, but to pray for him. And then after church, a sister said she feels impressed to fast and pray for this brother for 7 days. If there's anyone who wants to join her. And I was the first to raise my hand. Yes, I want to join you, because I really wanted to fast and pray more. And then I think 10 or 9 other people, but in total, 11 of us came together and fasted and prayed for 7 days. And I'm telling you, on my list of 8 things, at the end of the fast, God answered 1 point on my prayer list. And I was over the moon excited. And I was like, what? So if I fast for 1 week, yes. I said, if I fast for 1 week and God answer my prayer, answer 1 point on my prayer list, what if I should continue to fast? Then the Lord will answer the rest of my points. So I took a break, and I would sometimes break for 2 weeks, and then I would go and I'd do another week of fast, or I would do 3 days of fast. And I kept doing that. I kept doing these intermittent fasting. And then one day my friend said to me, and remember, I'm also, one of my prayer points is, give me the motivation so I can start exercising again, so I can lose weight. I hadn't gotten the motivation as yet. But one day my housemate said to me, hold on, you know, sister, you lose weight. And in English, that is, don't you see that you are losing weight? And I went and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, yes. And by the way, I had covered all the mirrors in my house. I didn't like seeing myself, right? I was so uncomfortable with myself that I had stopped looking in the mirrors, right? So I had to undo a mirror and I looked at it and I was like, wow, yes. I looked at my waist, my clothes that I was wearing, the waist was big. And I'm like, wow. And I tell you, man, that felt so good. And that was as a result of me fasting and praying. So I started losing the weight from the fasting and not necessarily the exercise. It was 2017 before I started exercising again. So from 2014 to 2017 before I started exercising again. And the Lord granted me that favor, and my diseases started reversing as well. So the angina, it was not as bad as before. And what happened with my fast is this is the most amazing thing, how the Lord transformed my taste buds. Every time I fasted, the Lord it would be easier for me in terms of my diet to remove something else from my diet that I really shouldn't be eating. And I wouldn't have to try. It was effortless removing it. I just did not have I no longer had the appetite or the desire for it. So that's how the Lord just transformed my taste bud, and I went completely vegan. And then I will hand over to you now. So you can maybe ask me a question, but then I'm going to go into another section of my story.
Well, it's not to ask you another question, and you have really unpacked a bit, and I know I'll have to have you back for a part two
Yes.
segment so that you can share a bit. But well, two things that I must say, as you mentioned, that king previous to King Saul and the king he spared, he was actually King Agag or Agag, depending on how you pronounce, and he was
Yes.
the king of Amalek, or we say the Amalekites. So that was the
Okay.
one that
Okay. Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
he spared. But as you mentioned, fasting, just by listening to your story, we are able to see that fasting, it's not just something spiritual, but also it has
Exactly.
physical results, because just by not eating, then you started to lose some of those kilos that you wanted to lose. So
Yes.
before we go, just want to say thanks to you, Davina, and I'm promising the listeners that you will be back for
Definitely.
part two. So my
Yes.
guest today has been Davina Gayle, and she's the CEO of the Natural Remedies Kitchen. And just want to recap a few of the things that we have discussed so far. So she has shared how God had saved her life, from different illnesses, and also her own personal transformation as she got to know Jesus Christ. She spoke about, as growing up as a child, she really detested the kitchen and she would pout her lips when her mom would invite her into the kitchen. But today, this is how she actually makes a living. And all of this started as a third form student in high school, where, when she was to choose her elective, she chose electrical works, but it didn't work out. But God had other plans. So today she develops her own products. So if you would love to order, I will allow her in a bit an opportunity to share with us where you could place your orders before she comes for her part two. But importantly, though she became severely ill at the point of suicide, God spared her life. She found her way back home. That is, at church, she got baptized. And through personal fasting, she has had loads and loads of transformation. So, Davina, before you go, if you could just share with the audience, how they could connect with you, and then we'll just give a wrap, because I know you have some things to take care of as well.
Yes. All right. So the audience can reach me on WhatsApp, and I will share my number. So it's +1 8 7 6 7 7 9 6 8 1 3. So that's my WhatsApp number. Persons can contact me to sign up on my vegan nutrition cooking course or my detox program, or just to purchase our natural eye drops or our pain oil or any one of our products. I will repeat the number again. It's +1 8 7 6 7 7 9 6 8 1 3, and just send me a WhatsApp message. At this time of the year, we have some lessons going on that you could actually book me for your church. So let's say you have a small group that you put together and you decide the time, and I will give you the ingredients your members, or if it's one person, however you want to do it, you get the ingredients, and I will teach you how to make things like vegan turkey that is vegan and gluten-free, made from nothing but your lentils, your chickpeas, plant-based stuff. Looks amazing. This will win your family over. And it can also put some money in your pocket if you make this and sell this, because I make my plant-based turkey every year and they sell like hot bread. We make things like vegan boiled eggs, completely, this is like from coconut milk, great stuff. Our own vegan cheese. So everything I do is plant-based, and it's also gluten-free. Nothing fermented. Don't use anything fermented. Don't use yeast either. Here we go. Plant-based fruit cake. We sometimes call this in the Caribbean black cake. They call it wedding cake. They call it your Christmas cake, your fruit cake. Teach you how to make this vegan as well as gluten-free. So we run cooking courses, and starting January 7th, we will have our 6 months vegan nutrition, cooking and nutrition course that persons can register for, where we have 2 classes per week, one on Sunday and one on a Monday. The time, whether it's morning or evening, is still to be determined, but nonetheless, every single class is recorded and the students do get the recording. Now, we also have our detox program, that our 6 to 7 weeks detox program, where I do a consultation with you. I provide you with a package of herbs that you will need for your program to detox your system and to regenerate your body, right? To help you to reverse lifestyle diseases and to lose weight. And if the case is weight gain, then we also address that. So I provide you with all the herbs that you will need, and then I coach you on WhatsApp and Zoom on how to use the different herbs in the package and how to reverse the diseases by using different modalities. So it's not just about taking the herbs, but we do other things as well on the program to help you to reverse and prevent lifestyle diseases. So we also have our natural eye drops called 2020 Vision Reclaim. It's a set of 3 eye drops, so persons can order that. It works. I've had 2 blind men that are now seeing. Persons who would normally need their glasses for everything now are at a stage where they don't no longer need it for driving. They are now being able to see at night. It improves your vision naturally, and it also helps with sinuses and hearing infection, but it is not for that purpose. We also have a pain and circulation massage oil that we normally supply persons with that when they're having edema, they're having high blood pressure, issues with their kidney or liver, where we have a lot of swelling in the legs. Also for muscular pain, aches and strains. It also helps with arthritic pain as well. Contact me. You could find me on YouTube as well. That's The Natural Remedies Kitchen, Davina, on YouTube. And your transformation is possible. And I know, because I did it through Christ Jesus, who strengthens me. And in addition to that, I've helped hundreds of people to transform their lives since 2017 to now. And if the Lord sends you to me, then by all means, He has sent you because He has given me the skills and the talents and the gifts to help you to transform, not just physically, but spiritually as well. And may I say that sometimes when we go on our journey of health and transformation, we may just go because we want healing for our disease. But sometimes it doesn't mean that even when we pray from now until the cows come home, it doesn't mean that the Lord is going to grant favor in terms of extended years like He did with Hezekiah. Sometimes He might lead you to me because your house needs to be put in order, because we are not guaranteed life on this earth as eternal, but we are guaranteed, if we are faithful and we surrender all to Him, then we are guaranteed life eternal with Him in the new earth. So sometimes faith doesn't mean that you're going to be 100% healed. Faith means that you are ready to accept the Lord's will for your life. So if it means you're here for the spiritual food, because some come for the spiritual journey, some come for physical, but either way, I dish out too, because that is what the Lord has trained me to do. May the Lord bless you, and thank you very much, Marlon, for inviting me to this program. And I pray a blessing upon all your listeners, your audience, and I do hope to come back very soon, sooner rather than later. And I give God thanks as well for another opportunity to share the same testimony, to bring glory and honor to his name. And even for me, every time I share the testimony, I remember other areas of my life that I never even touched. And today's one is an amazing one. So glory and honor to the Most High God.
Amazing indeed. And as you say, your transformation is possible. You've been in tuned to Upward Way. Do join us again next week when we'll have another interesting guest sharing his or her story of faith. Of course, please subscribe to weekly episodes on the Apple AWR, Loud Voice, Spotify, Stitcher, or Podcast Guru apps. And we invite you to visit Upward Way Facebook page. You can click like, leave a comment, and follow along. Until then, I am Marlon Walters saying goodbye. May God bless you.
You've been listening to the Upward Way podcast, the #1 audio production show for people who want encouragement and reassurance in a muddled world.